Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Furman Football Weekly with Clay Hendricks, and today joined by Josh Harris and Hugh Ryan, coming off that loss 47-21 at South Carolina, but back on the road at Kennesaw State. 5 o'clock kickoff from 3rd Fifth Bank Stadium. So thank you all for coming today, and Coach Hendricks, talk a little bit about what happened last week and what's coming up for you.
Okay. Well, again, appreciate you being here. Certainly late. I think we got back 2 a.m. Saturday. But first normal week we've had where we practiced yesterday. We started last year doing this, and then players are actually off today, which I kind of like to schedule from a preparation standpoint. So it's a little more normal day. Talking about Saturday, really proud of how our kids played, competed. I think, it's easy to say for the better part of 30 minutes, we did the things I thought we could do and hang in there and compete and be physical and execute. And I thought we were in a great position. That's why the game's also 60 minutes, not 30 minutes. And really disappointing how the thing turned and certainly how it finished. And I don't know what would have happened, later on had we just responded a little bit better. And, not only some plays with the field, some stuff that didn't go our way. And we knew those things were going to happen. And we just, I really felt like even when we came out in the third quarter, we're down 13. I felt like we could get a drive, put a score, make it a one-possession game again. I think we got it to their 38. And I think we got sacked 3 times the night, 2 of which were on quick throws, which can never, ever happen. And I think they were both right there. And, and again, just disappointing. I thought we were in position to make some plays. And, it's easy to say deep balls, put it on the DBs. But, we really disappointed the lack of pressure we got on him. We're a pressure team. And to do that, if you pressure, you got to get there. If not, you really hang your back half out to dry. And same way coverage-wise, we got to cover guys well, and that helps our front guys. Lost contain on the quarterback a couple times, which were huge. I think the whole play before the half was largely because of that. Now we probably got grabbed pretty good to let him get outside there, but still we got to contain the quarterback. And then I thought several deep balls we were in a good spot, and they're able to push us away and catch football, and it is what it is, and the tape says what it is. Which is disappointing. I thought Travis was in great position. Coach Spangler and Tefan both. Tommy's been doing this 40 years. He goes, Coach, how do you teach the guy to play it any different? And we get a huge PI down there where they're 225-pound guys. Got his hands. He's doing the same thing we're doing. Should have been a no call. But, and then just really offensively, some missed throws, opportunities. We got an offensive pass interference where their guy initiates our guy and grabs him, and then we get an OPI on a big play that was called back for the half. It would have, again, got us out of the half. It would have been at least I don't know if we'd have gone. We actually thought we could go down and get some points. So, did a lot of things well. There's still, we're nowhere near a finished product. So, we need to have a great week of practice. Changing gears, as we turn to Kennesaw. I don't know if you look at them the last, I don't even know how long they've been a program, less than 10 years probably, but got to be one of the winningest programs in FCS. So they've done a phenomenal job transitioning to FBS, and I know they've added scholarships, so they're not eligible this year. So kind of playing 2 FBSs back-to-back. I know with that comes some comes some issues. I know they've had some kids maybe leave. They've added some kids. So I don't know. Changed totally offensively and defensively. New coordinators, have been a triple option team. There's still a triple option element team, but doing it out of the gun. I'm sure a lot of that's recruiting. New defensive coordinator. So the last year's tape doesn't do you a lot of good. But they've played 2 football games. When they played a really competitive game at Chattanooga, had a bunch of chances to win that game, and we'll go down to their place. Really, I think the thing that stands out, they remind me, Brian I've known for a long time, Brian Bohannon, been successful everywhere he's been. Great team speed. So they certainly will be a huge challenge for us. And then I think the last thing I like to say, really proud of our special teams. I think a lot of people say South Carolina maybe arguably the best one in the country, and we stood toe-to-toe with them. We stopped the muddle huddle 2-point play. I have to believe, they mishandled a snap at the end of the game and they missed a field goal. Do I think some of our pressure we've been able to put on people does have an effect? I think it does. The way we covered kicks. So I think we're doing some really good things there. And Kennesaw's pretty dynamic in special teams in the return game. So we'll have to be great there this week as well. So, but with that, we'll open up any questions you may have.
Coach, and re-looking at especially the first half on Saturday, two guys kind of, Hugh did his normal business that he does every Saturday, but two guys on defense who kind of stood out to me were Micah Robinson early on, had some big tackles, and the puns write themselves, but Joe DiMaggio's great nephew seems to be one of the hardest hitters on the team.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I know that was a huge hit he had down there on the goal line on the quarterback. I think Evan is a guy that's been great in our program for a while now, and I think maybe you can see some times where he and Gilby are there at the same time, both kind of physically imposing kind of guys. Team this week wants to run the football right at you a bunch, so I think that helped us. What were they, 2.8 yards a carry the other night against us? And if you'd have told me that before the game, I'd said, well, okay, we'll have a chance, and we did. We did. But no, I think that, and I think Micah continues to get better. I think we got a really good situation with Micah and Ivan and Travis. Three guys are kind of pulling the majority of the load. I knew exactly what was going to happen. We were going to get those balls out in the flat. We were going to have to tackle guys, and we did an okay job. We got to be better there. I just knew that was going to be. I thought we made a lot of these throws way too easy. Again, a little bit of the pressure. Again, guy's a good enough player without putting much pressure on him. And then again, we lost containment a couple of times. But I'm pleased with how we're developing. Again, we're hadn't come close to playing like we're capable of playing, but we're making progress, and we'll certainly be challenged this week.
If I look at this right, your opponent this week, Kennesaw State, has new coordinators on both sides of the ball. I think their offensive coordinator came from Nevada, where he kind of was under Chris Ault, I believe. Can you talk about, that's a difficult offense to kind of grasp in a
it's kind of interesting. Chris Klinakis, who's the OL coach and the coordinator, I met Chris a number of years ago. He was there, Chris Ault, in the Kaepernick days, and they were kind of the ones that just came up with a pistol. He left there, got about 9 or 10. Been a bunch of different places since that time. Really hadn't been in that offense at all, but didn't take long to pop the tape on there and see that's largely what they're doing. I think the other thing you remember, Tommy Spangler was the DC at La Tech in the WAC days when they were going out there and playing them. So, I think there's still certainly the triple option element. They're throwing in a little bit. They're doing a little bit of everything, using a tight end. They're trying to get a little bigger up front. We got a grad student quarterback. So, I think it creates some challenges. They're going to force you to be disciplined. I think I saw last week the quarterback had a long run. Chattanooga in the corner had his nose in there trying to tackle the dive. And the ball came out. And I've seen them in 2 games. I know I've seen a couple of balls thrown over people's heads that got their eyes in the wrong spot. So it'll be one of those kinds of weeks. And I think that, and then you add the physical element, because they are, it is not a finesse offense by any means. And they've got a lot of speed. And then defense coordinator, I know was at Georgia Tech a couple of years ago, but he's totally new. So it's they've been a really good defensive team since they've been there, just like they've been good offensively. I ain't seen that change. They've still got kids flying around running the ball. Scheme's probably a little more similar on defense than on offense. So we got 2 games to go by, and that's I really hadn't spent much time looking at last year's stuff at all.
Josh, I want to ask you about this, and I guess in some ways you too. Going down there in that atmosphere, what did it feel like when and I don't mean from the crowd's point of view, I mean from the point of competing against their defensive backs. I mean, like, what did you have to do different? How did you adjust? What did it feel like?
Say the preparation just throughout the week, getting your mind ready. I mean, for me, it's just another football game. I don't see it as, oh man, I'm going down to play in this big team. It's just to me, it's just another team that I have to play. The DBs are probably a little bit bigger than your average DBs from the SoCon, but I mean, that wasn't stopping my preparation or my mindset that I had. It was a great challenge for me. The guys got tremendous talent. They got eyes on them. So me knowing that, I got to be at my best game. So just knowing that.
Hey, Coach, all your goals other than being unbeaten are still on the board. How hard is it to get the guys to refocus and get ready for Kennesaw State this weekend?
Well, I guess we'll see. We had good practice yesterday. Our kids are disappointed in just kind of how the game played out. And again, I don't know, our expectations. I look back and I still felt like, we could have hung in there the whole way. And I thought we were right where we wanted to be, and we just let it get away. I think I looked up, there were 51 seconds to go in the half, and it's a tie game. I think they're maybe on the 40-yard line. If you remember the play before that, they milked 40 seconds off the clock. And I'm sitting there when they were doing that, and I'm sitting there thinking, I probably should have thought they were going to throw the football. And here's an SEC team on 4th and 1 and 1.5. They throw it on us on 4th down. Convert, kid makes a good play. And then, we got two guys that get their feet tangled up, and we cut a guy loose and give up a big play there. And then kind of shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit on offense. Got the penalty that kept us from being able to convert, and had to give them the ball back. And again, so no, everything we want's out there for us. I mean, I tell our team we've got a good team. I don't have any question about that. We got a good team, and we can be a whole lot better. And I think we'll have to be better this week. I think we'll play a much more motivated group, for us coming in to play at their place. And, I told our team yesterday, I don't think there's anything more challenging than playing a really good team on the road. And so we'll get to do that 2 weeks in a row. I think the bodies won't look quite the same that we saw last week, but I think just motivation, teams used to winning football games. I think that's enough of a challenge in itself.
Coach, at what point did you know you were going to throw the football on 2nd down? And Josh, what about the throw?
Go ahead.
We practiced that all week. I had to prepare my mind for that throw. In practice is much easier. You're not in the atmosphere like that. So, once he called it, I knew that it was going to work. We watched film on their DBs. Their DBs are aggressive in the run game. So right when I got it, I saw KD go. It slipped out of my hands, and it was a duck, but I got it there, so I was just happy about that.
No, same way. We talked about it, and, we had a really good first play. Tyler was really decisive. We ran the boot, and you could figure out pretty quick their ends were going to be up the field players, and they were, and he stuck his foot in the ground, made a good play. And, so Coach made a good call, and, really should have been a little firmer up front. I think that had a little something to do with Josh. One guy kind of flashed. One of their guys flashes in front of you. It's usually a different body that you're throwing over the top of. So I was again happy to complete it. And then I think, just having a chance to punch it in there, was big for us to start the game. And in some ways, yeah, it's a little different, but it's just another play, just another play we can take advantage of. And we got a number of guys out there that can do those kinds of things.
Coach, I'm guessing that two things you'd like to see a little bit more of are kind of establishing a running game and getting a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. I was just looking at Kennesaw's numbers this year. They got 7 tackles for loss, 1 sack. They've allowed 7 sacks and 15 tackles for losses. Is that something you think you probably can be able to do this week?
Yeah, I think each game's in itself a little bit. They kind of led the game. Their first game was close at the half, and then they kind of pulled away. And then the other night they were behind. Seemed like the majority of the game, but really behind for our half. And then they gave up some late in the game when they were having to throw it, which is not what they want to do. They're a run-it, play-action team. Similar to what we like to do. We've probably dropped back and throw it a little better. But, I certainly would like to run the football better. I think it's something we're going to have to continue to do. I thought we played better up front last week than we did the week before. I felt last week was a little bit easier prep. I think the first game was a little challenging just from what we were seeing. But we've got some guys that played football, really without still 2 guys. Fred, Jake still out. Hopefully we get Jake back soon. Won't be this week. I think Fred will be ready to go. So I think we've built some depth there. I think we'll continue to get better. And again, but that's something we certainly need to do a better job of.
Hugh, just talk about you're kind of back there and you see the whole field, and you're a veteran. If there's something that you need to communicate to the corners in an environment like that, how hard is that to do, or do you guys have like a way to communicate to each other during that an atmosphere like that?
I mean, yeah, we have like hand signals, for different coverages depending on, the offensive picture we get. And I mean, yeah, we could have communicated a little bit better with getting the call, from the sideline. I thought, from safety to corner communication was pretty good, but as a defense collectively, I thought we could have done a little bit better, especially in that kind of atmosphere, getting the call from the sideline a little bit better. But I mean, yeah, that's a big part of defense, being on the same page with all 11. But yeah, I'm sure it'll be a little bit easier, in the weeks to come, but we can still get better at that for sure.
I'm sure that people who do what I do stereotype things and oversimplify things constantly, and fans do it far more than we do. But, you look in that game, you're playing South Carolina between North Carolina and Georgia. On the other hand, the North Carolina game left them somewhat desperate. I mean, they probably, I think there, sometimes you run up a team that's not just trying to beat you, it's trying to beat you big because they're trying to save face. But how does that, you say that the team's ready for this week. Probably by the same token, you feel disappointed. That gives extra incentive for the final week. But this is all just minor league psychology. You got a bunch of players on your roster, and everyone's different. That's the fascination of football, is that there's getting a team ready to play is such a complicated thing. It's different in an offensive lineman than a defensive lineman. But how do you feel about that going forward, if you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Well, I hope our kids, and I think they do. I think they appreciate. They really only kind of guaranteed 11 opportunities a year to play, and if your guy loves to play, you're going to cherish all those opportunities. And you're really not guaranteed those. We got a couple guys on our team that won't play 11 this year. So we just try to be grateful for the day we have and prepare. And I think the makeup of who our kids are, they enjoy going and playing each week. I think everybody wants to play their very best. And, again, you want to take advantage of the opportunities you have. And then I think the biggest thing for us is we open the conference schedule next week, and certainly those games are more important than anything else we play. This is the most important game of the week, of the year, this week. And, and certainly we won't head into the conference schedule playing our best football. And we hadn't done that just yet. So I think that's just kind of the goal, is to go see how well we can play and get some confidence heading in. And I think we have some confidence. I don't think our confidence got. I think it's more disappointment that we let an opportunity slip by to really couldn't see what we could have been able to do, and we just didn't do things we had to do that we knew to compete for 60 minutes. And we competed for 60 minutes, but not to play at the level we wanted to play at.
Coach, Tyler Huff took some pretty big hits in the game, and some of the other players were also beaten up. How's the overall health of the team going into this game right now?
I think overall health's pretty good. I would say right now Grant Robinson's probably questionable this week. I think the only new one, I think, obviously as a football game, it was a physical football game and against those bodies, and we're a little banged up like you are most weeks. I don't know. I actually thought we protected really pretty well, probably maybe better in some ways I thought we could. And again, we took spits on some quick throws that should never happen. We screwed up a call or a signal, and we didn't have a guy where he's supposed to be on one of the bootlegs, and then they took a couple of shots at him. But I think we're not in bad shape after playing 2 physical football games, and I think we'll get a little better as the week goes on. I think most everybody practiced yesterday, and we'll go hard at it on Tuesday, just like we always do.
It's for Hugh and Josh. How do you both feel about this team and what you can accomplish this year? And you can start with Hugh.
I mean, like everyone's been saying, I think, all our goals are still out in front of us. Like Coach just said, we know our confidence didn't waver at all. I think we're still all confident in what this team can accomplish. And, we know we have the right makeup in that locker room and the right culture that's been created here. And, I think we're all really excited about the remainder of the year and, just keeping going. So.
I think we're going to take this past weekend and learn from it. I think everybody can improve on their job in some type of way. So I think the weeks leading in, so this week leading to conference play, I think we'll have a different type of mindset going. Because last year everybody talks about we had a great season, but we won't have nothing to show for it. Didn't get it done at home versus Sanford, didn't get it done in Texas. So I think once the conference plays, once that starts, I think we'll have a different mindset for it.
Coach, the last 2 weeks you've had the opportunity to play some guys, some backups, and some younger guys, and I just wanted to kind of and you already, like you mentioned, Colton Hinton was going to play anyway this year. Just some early impressions of him and what Carson Jones has been able to do, in relief, the last 2 weeks, just overall impressions.
Yeah, Carson, I really think, when I think about August, you look at your team, we're not playing a lot of young guys, but I feel like some of those guys that Carson might have had as good of August preseason prep as anybody of those guys that really hadn't played in that situation. So certainly we have a lot of confidence in him now, and it's great he's been able to get in 2 games. And I just, he's kind of got that personality, and that he just is kind of the same all the time. And then certainly Colton, Brock Chappell, was a guy that showed up. I mean, man, he just looked like an old guy kind of catching that ball, and wasn't crazy about him reaching out like he did with it, but it was okay after he got it in there. But he's doing some really good things in the blocking game that's going to help us. And again, I think there's a number of guys, even some older guys that hadn't played a lot of snaps prior maybe to this year. So I think we've got good depth. I think that continues to show up. That's going to continue to help us, going forward. And Wayne was a little bit limited last week, and I thought, Ben, Ferguson, and Colton both showed up in a really good way, and hopefully Wayne will be back to full speed, and we're better when we got all those guys, and I think we'll continue to try to distribute the ball around, getting a lot of guys we think can make plays, and you got a couple of guys that joined us now, have played a couple games in our system, so. You hope our whole thing is about getting better each week, and so hopefully we can make the progress we'd like to see. And I'll be shocked. I don't think we're going to play anybody even remotely as close to as talented as the group we just played the rest of the way. We'll play some really good teams, and it'll be a really good one this week, but not the size and speed.
Coach, I thought when you guys did generate a little bit of pressure, it seemed to be Jalen Miller was the guy that was kind of getting in there and causing havoc. And this is the second season he's had to step in and be the starter, and he stepped up to the plate right away. Can you just talk about his play so far?
Yeah, Jalen's been a guy. He's been in our program. I guess Jalen's a 5th-year guy. Started out really as an inside, has moved kind of inside and outside. Now it's kind of settled out to that spur position. He and Callie have been kind of a good little combination there. He's been probably a little more in some run situations, maybe type settings where Callie's been more as a true nickel guy. I think we'll kind of continue to do that, but no, Jen's helped with special teams. But no, I mean you want your seniors to play their best football when they're seniors, and right now he's playing good football for us. So, but he did I think had the sack the other night, but he's continued to do some good things. And again, I think for us, it goes back to a little bit of that pressure. We got to win some more one-on-ones. I knew even the other night we weren't going. People say how many can you win? Well, I knew we weren't even going to win half of them. We just got to win enough, and we didn't win nearly enough. And again, you're going to be a pressure team. You got to be able to get there, and that's something we'll have to continue to get better at.
One thing that I don't think has changed in the last 40 years is that there's a world of difference between a bus ride after a win and a bus ride after a loss. I think if you win, everybody's going to sell it. But I just wondered, Hugh, when you were riding home, what were you thinking about? Things that you could do different, things that needed to be done. I just wondered, I know you said after the game that we have a lot of stuff we have to fix on there, but I just wondered what your thoughts were after that. Were you thinking generally or specifically, or how did you feel on that ride home?
Well, I mean, right after the game, I'm probably thinking more, specific plays that, I might have left out there, or, the defense might have left out there. But, I mean, now that I've kind of, looked at the game, on film and kind of, let it settle in a little bit, now it's more, general overview, like, what we can do to get better. But, I mean, I think it's just not wasting a failure and just learning from it and, make it more of a positive result, come out of it rather than, something negative. So just kind of, excited to get back to work this week especially.
Josh, you?
Pretty much the same way.
Coach, one thing that I was looking at is the fact that this year so far, every time you've been in the red zone, you scored. Only one field goal, and the rest of them been touchdowns. Can you kind of go into like that with at the South Carolina game, the 3 times you were in, you was able to score on them. So it's definitely great that when you're in the red zone, you are getting the points.
Well, it's something we work at specifically. I think most every team does. Are your calls vastly different? No. I think teams that have the ability to run the football, certainly it's a little bit easier for them down there. But also, I think you have to be able to mix it. And, we'll continue to work at that. That'll be a great stat at the end of the year. I think the same thing happened. I think a reason I know this, Coach Vaughn brought it up to our defense in the team meeting. I think they had 4 possessions, scored 4 touchdowns. That's not what we want. We got to force some field goals there. And we've been really, really good red zone defense. And again, that's something we take a lot of pride in, and we'll continue to work at. But if that number can hold true, that I think that'll certainly help us down the stretch, particularly be able to do it against an SEC football team.
You're talking about having looked at the 2 games that Kennesaw State's already played. At what point do you begin preparation for the next opponent?
You talking about as far as?
Yeah, just how's your approach in terms of scouting, looking ahead, and when do you begin that preparation for the next game?
We're not the place that has the army of workers, who knows when South Carolina did our stuff, or some of our stuff. But, we got a couple of our young QC guys that do a little bit of stuff ahead of time. I try to watch a little bit of people. I may pull up a quarter. In fact, I've already watched a quarter of a game or 2 from another game yesterday when I had some time. I don't know. I kind of like to, when I get to that week, you feel like you've seen, or maybe somebody's completely changed. You just want to see what they were doing. But wholesale, really for us, we get cranked up, the week before. But I don't know. I sometimes like to look a little bit ahead, just so I have a little bit of a feeling once we get to that week. Maybe I can provide a little insight to our coordinators on both sides of the ball, just what I've seen kind of throughout the season.
Coach, this is a team that, like you, is very mature, but their maturity comes a lot from guys that come from the transfer portal. Offensively, I know they've been really run heavy in the past. How much do you read into the fact that Chattanooga held them to their lowest rushing total in their history, and does that have anything to do with their rushing at less, or what is the breakdown on that?
Well, I think it's a combination of a number of things. I think Chattanooga's pretty good defensively. I mean, look where they were last year, a year ago, and got a number of those guys coming back. I think it's game 2 of a new offense. It is a new offense. It isn't. They're asking those offensive linemen to do different things. There's a triple option element to it. And I don't know. I really have not looked at their roster a lot. I know they added some transfers. I don't know historically if they've been a big transfer place. I think they've had some. I also think they probably lost some kids just because they're in this kind of limbo year. They're playing a 9-game schedule. I think there's 3 Division II teams, maybe 5 FCS. I think their one FBS game is Sam Houston, who just moved to it. And I think I noticed Sam Houston played 9 games last year, so I'm sure the model. But I don't know. I mean, I've 3 weeks of 2 deeps, and it changes every week. So I would imagine there's some – I would imagine probably kids that have redshirt years, they're trying to redshirt them. I'm sure they've got a plan that they're going by. In fact, I think I saw where Brian, I talked to him a while back. I know they're in this – I think they're in the 70s scholarship-wise. I knew they weren't going to add the whole thing. I'm sure they'll take a bunch more. So I'm sure that creates its own unique challenges. But they do have, and I think their nose guard in there is maybe a West Florida kid that played last year. I kind of just saw that this morning when you started looking at their personnel a little bit. But I think that the numbers are a little bit of a combination of kind of where they are, and then they got behind. They got behind. So, but they have backs that can create explosive plays. They've hit some big passes. The quarterback is a really, really good athlete. And I think in some ways they're simplifying what they're asking the offensive linemen to do. They're probably going to look for a different guy. You can already see. I know they took one of the Wofford kids from last year who's a big body that I know they would have never played with in the old offense. So I think there's a little bit of a transition there that's taking place. But they were better this week than they were the first week, and I'm sure they'll be better week 3 than they were week 2.
You bring up a point that made me occur to something. Because one of the main changes is, in recent years, is when you're preparing for another team, you have to accommodate a lot more for the revolving door. Because a lot of teams at the FCS level lose a lot of people and bring in a lot of people. And I just wonder, has that changed the way you prepare for an opponent?
I think probably the only way that really affects you maybe if it's truly maybe a quarterback, because most of the time they're plugging them into a system. I know some people did the wholesale transfer route. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. If a guy's inside linebacker, you're going to plan for him any differently than you would the other guy. But I do think sometimes quarterback, maybe or a certain quarterback with a certain style of offense might change. But other than that, I don't think you do anything much differently.
Coach, as we wrap it up, anything you'd like to finish with?
No, just excited to go play again. I'm again really pleased how our kids played and competed, and we're getting better. And as long as we keep that mindset, we got good coaches and we got good players, and this will be a big challenge for us this week to go to Kennesaw and play. But I think it's one we're looking forward to. I know it's an area we love to go, recruit. Tons of Furman alumni in that area. I'd be shocked if we don't have a big crowd. Had a great crowd. I can't say enough about the other night in that environment. We had a great crowd, and just excited to go get to play again.
Coach, as always, thanks for your time, and our thanks today to Josh Harris and Hugh Ryan. And reminder, at Kennesaw State, now that's a 5 o'clock kickoff. Our pregame on radio begins at 3:30 from 3rd Fifth Bank Stadium. Like to see everybody there. Thanks for coming along today, everybody.